Welcome to the Super 2000 and Production World Rally Championship 2011 season review. This is your complete review of every round of both support championships for the year. All the high-flying, high-octane action from the four corners of the globe. The PWRC is the longest-running support championship to the WRC. These Group N machines are as close to showroom cars as you'll see in the World Rally Championship. The SWRC category for 2-litre normally aspirated cars is only in its second season, but with the cars based largely on the full-spec WRC models, it's proving a popular way for young drivers to make their mark and break through into the senior championship. 2010 saw some of the best emerging rally drivers vying for the SWRC title, but with last year's winner Chevy Ponce making the decision not to defend his title, the fight to become 2011 champion was wide open. Heading the field was Czech Martin Prokop, who finished third in the inaugural season. His competition would come from Juho Hänninen, who won on his only SWRC entry last year, but was back for a full season in his Red Bull Skoda. Veteran driver Nasser Al-Attiyah was looking to add SWRC success to his Dakar rally triumph. Promising Estonian Ott Tänak was looking to build on last year's PWRC successes in a Marco Martin-backed Ford Fiesta. While young guns Bernardo Sosa, Evan Brynildsen, Carl Kruder and Herman Gassner Jr. were all aiming to make a big impact this season. The SWRC field was completed by likeable Andorran Albert Javera. In the PWRC, former champions Armindo Arrojo and Toshio Rai may have gone, but there were still plenty of familiar faces in the PWRC. Mikhail Kosciuszko made the switch across from the SWRC. Whilst 2010 runner-up Patrick Flodin was hoping to go one better this season, Kiwi Hayden Paddon was also looking to build on last year's third-place finish, this time competing in a Subaru Impreza. And after a year away, young Czech Martin Semerad was back in his Mitsubishi Lancer. A new crop of drivers also joined the PWRC, with Ukrainians Valery Gorban, Alexander Saloik and Yuri Protasov all competing under the Mentos team banner, while Peruvian Nicolas Fuchs and Benito Guerra from Mexico gave a Latin flavour to the championship. And here is a look at what they will have to contend with. For 2011, the Super 2000 Championship was made up of 8 rounds, while the Production Car Championship comprised 7. The SWRC drivers got their first taste of action in the high altitude of Rally Mexico. 4 more gravel rounds followed in Jordan, Sardinia, Greece and Finland before a switch to the tarmac of Germany and France. The mixed service Rally Spain was where the SWRC champion would be decided. The PWRC started on the snow and ice of Sweden. The gravel roads of Argentina and Australia would provide a stern test for the drivers before the traditional season closer in the mud of Wales Rally GB. With 5 of the 8 rounds of this season's SWRC run on gravel, it's the essential surface for drivers to master. And having competed in the inaugural season, Martin Prokop knows exactly what is required to get the best of the Super 2000 cars. So who better to give us a lesson on gravel driving than the Czech star?
Driving on gravel is, of course, a little bit different than driving on snow or on tarmac. For me, it's the best to don't drive so much aggressive. The best is to keep the lines and don't make big slides. It's good for fans, but not for your time. And it's a little bit different from tarmac because you cannot brake so late, and you have to come to returns with small slide and as soon as possible go out from the turns. The best is to keep the lines and follow the lines from the first guys, like from Hirvonen or from lap. So the best is to have a clean line like here. It's quite sharp turn, but without slide it's much faster. So for me it's my style. I am not an aggressive driver. I am keeping the lines and trying to get a clean line.
Just 5 drivers made the SWRC season opener, but they were given a warm welcome at the spectacular opening ceremony in the town of Guanajuato. The thousands of fans were treated to a night stage through the town, which was won by Nasser Al-Attiyah. And the Dakar Rally winner continued to push on the next day, winning 5 stages to build up a commanding lead.
Stay, ditch outside. 40. Right way, tighten 5, very danger. Tighten 5, very danger. 80.
He was helped when his closest rival, Juho Hänninen, suffered this off on stage 2. The Finn dropped over 2 minutes trying to free his car. Hänninen's problems promoted the flying Estonian Ott Tänak, but on day 2, Tänak's charge would come to an abrupt end. He was off the road and forced to retire for the day. Martin Prokop was the driver to benefit from the others' misfortunes. He recovered from early setup problems to hold a steady pace in second. But by now there was no catching Alatia. The Qatari was not pushing, but was able to maintain his lead of the chasing drivers. One of those chasing hard after his day 1 problems was Juho Hänninen. But once again, it looked as though at times he was pushing too much. Despite this roll, he was still able to claim 3rd. It was Nasser Al-Attiyah then who came home in 1st after a faultless weekend. The 40-year-old had led the rally since the 1st stage and showed his experience and cool head. Nasser eventually finished 13.5 seconds in the lead for his first SWRC victory.
Fantastic, really. It's a very hard weekend, and I am so happy to win this race, you know, because we compete many times here, you know, and I think it's good to start for the championship.
A delighted Nasser celebrated on the podium, but the champagne would have to be put on ice. Post-event scrutineering revealed a valve in his Fiesta's fuel cell did not conform to FIA regulations, meaning Nasser was disqualified, with his team choosing not to contest the decision. The final positions look like this. A reluctant Martin Prokop took the win in Mexico, with Hänninen 2nd, while Ott Tänak finished 3rd after restarting under the Super Rally rules. After the high altitude of Mexico, it was back down to earth for the 2nd round of the SWRC and the desert roads of Jordan. Because of transport delays, the event was reduced to 2 days, which would only add to the fight. The top 3 drivers from Mexico had decided to sit out the Middle Eastern round of the championship, leaving 6-time Middle East champion Nasser Al-Attiyah as the favourite, and he didn't disappoint, opening up a 15.9 second lead in just the 1st stage. 9th in the championship last year, Evan Brynildsen was looking to get off to a good start in his SWRC campaign, but on the 2nd stage of the day, he suffered a broken suspension arm and was unable to continue. Bernardo Sosa was the closest rival to the Qatari. However, the distance between the two at the end of the opening day was almost 2 minutes. Carl Kruder rounded off the top 3 at the end of the day. The 18-year-old Estonian held his own throughout against the more experienced drivers. And although he was helped out by a puncture to German Red Bull driver Hermann Gassner Jr., by the end of the day, he was just over a minute behind Sosa in 3rd. Al-Attiyah's drive was so dominant over his SWRC peers, he even began to catch the turbocharged WRC cars ahead, and by the end of the day, was running 10th overall. Despite that commanding lead, the 1st stage of the final day would prove to be the end for Al-Attiyah, as his Fiesta developed an engine problem off the start line which ended his rally. Huge disappointment for Al-Attiyah. Further back in the field on his first ever gravel rally, Frigate Turan was on course for his first SWRC podium until the penultimate stage, when he was forced to retire after his engine caught fire. This promoted Gassner Jr. to 3rd, which, after a puncture on the Jordan River stage, was an impressive display from the German. Albert Javera also enjoyed a good weekend, with the cars in front of him faltering. The Andorran kept a cool head to claim his best ever SWRC finish, coming home in 4th. Leaving Bernardo Sosa and Carl Kruder in a fierce battle for the win. Kruder had been cutting an average of over 6 seconds per stage out of the Portuguese driver's lead throughout the morning, until a spin saw his winning chances come to an end. And so it was left to Sosa to wrap up his maiden SWRC victory. After 2 events, it's Carl Kruder who leads the way after his 2nd place finish in Jordan. Sosa moved into joint 2nd alongside Martin Prokop following his Jordan victory, dropping Juho Hänninen into 3rd with 18 points, whilst Nasser Al-Attiyah was still to score a single point in the 2011 championship. But without a doubt, the happiest man after Rally Jordan was Bernardo Sosa.
I knew that here we have a very good opportunity to be on the podium. We worked properly and we're here with a victory.
Coming up in part 2, the SWRC season moves to the Mediterranean, plus a sit-down with one of the rising stars of 2011. And we take our first look at the PWRC Championship. Welcome back. Round 3 of the SWRC brought the drivers into Europe for the first time and the island of Sardinia. Title hopefuls Oyt Tanak, Juho Hänninen and Martin Prokop all returned after skipping the last round in Jordan, as did current championship leader Carl Kruder in his Skoda Fabia. Day 1 in Sardinia proved to be a lot tougher for the Super 2000 drivers than they'd first thought. Mexico winner Martin Prokop was quick throughout the day, posting top 3 finishes on all but one stage. He finished the day in a solid 2nd place. Juho Hänninen started brightly but ran into trouble with his brakes before getting a puncture on stage 4, dropping him down the order. Despite these problems, he recovered to 3rd by the end of the day. Carl Kruder was the surprise championship leader but couldn't carry on the good form as he ended the day in 7th. And Nasser Al-Attiyah's bad luck continued after being disqualified in Mexico and his Fiesta failing to fire in Jordan. It didn't get any better for the Qatari when he suffered a puncture and then this engine fire. One driver who had no trouble with the conditions on offer was Oyt Tanak. He'd shown his pace in Mexico until his off, and was once again quick here as he posted fastest times on all but 2 stages of the opening day, and he continued to pull away on day 2. He was helped out by the drama unfolding behind him as Martin Prokop's car caught fire in stage 11, which resulted in the Czech driver losing nearly a minute. His team of mechanics had to work flat out just to get his car back onto the stages. Juho Hänninen was up into 2nd with some solid stage times, but not being able to match Tanak's pace, he finished nearly 50 seconds behind the Estonian. Bernardo Sosa's retirement 2 stages from the end of the rally promoted Hermann Gassner Jr., and the German finished the rally in a respectable 5th. Nasser Al-Attiyah was relieved to finally get his season off and running, especially as the problems he incurred on day 1 threatened to end yet another rally early. He finished in 4th. One driver glad to see the back of Sardinia was Martin Prokop. He suffered more problems on the final day. The fire that hampered his chances on Saturday returned, and after his car filled with smoke, he could only open the boot to increase ventilation and limp to the finish, maintaining a place on the podium. With Hänninen unable to match his pace, it was left to Tanak to wrap up his maiden SWRC victory with a faultless weekend. Leading from start to finish, the young Estonian was now a serious contender for the SWRC Championship title. And with that victory, Tanak joins Prokop as joint leaders of the SWRC. Carl Kruder is a close 3rd, and Juho Hänninen maintains the pressure on the top 3. Tanak's mentor and team manager Marco Martin was suitably impressed.
I must say I did a very good weekend. It was a good result for the team as well to get the first win, and also fantastic for him to get the first win in SWRC.
Rally Greece was next up for the SWRC boys. Martin Prokop was first into the Greek stages, but he hit trouble on the opening stage. Front drive shaft failure turned his four-wheel drive Fiesta into a three-wheel drive, with nearly 9.5 minutes lost over the course of the day. His charge for the win was effectively over. Nasser Al-Attiyah was the man flying out of the blocks, winning the opening stage, but on stage 2, the luckless Al-Attiyah had a power steering failure, costing him 2 minutes, and once again, Nasser found himself running last.
We drove completely 40k without the steering. You know, it's a disaster. You know, I cannot move my hand also. But what we can do.
With two of the main contenders effectively out of the running, it was Oyt Tanak who led the SWRC charge, looking set for a repeat of his success in Sardinia. The Estonian was effortlessly powering his Ford Fiesta through the day's stages. Finland's Juho Hänninen was the only man able to take the fight to Tanak. Despite 2 punctures, the Finn made it through the day relatively unscathed. At the end of day 1, Tanak's lead 29.2 seconds over Hänninen. Just to give you an idea of how quick the top 2 were, Bernardo Sosa in third was already 1.5 minutes off the pace. On day 2, it was Oyt Tanak leading the charge and therefore leading the class into the stages. With nearly 30 seconds in hand, he had no reason to push. But less than 1 kilometre into the stage, his inexperience would bite him. Carrying too much speed into a left-hander, he went off the road. His Fiesta was too heavily damaged to continue, and he was forced to retire. This handed the baton to Juho Hänninen, and with nearly 2 minutes to play with, the Finn was in a cruising mode. All he had to do was look after the car to bring it to the end of the rally for an almost certain victory. It sounded simple, but as we'd seen all weekend, the Acropolis stages are a dangerous place for rally cars. Evan Brynildsen had been as high as third and was pushing hard on day 2, but his charge was short-lived. Power steering failure on stage 9 before suspension failure on 11 forced him to retire. Bernardo Sosa's cautious approach to the rally paid off with a well-deserved second place. But up at the front, after the perfect display of a faultless drive, Finland's Juho Hänninen brought his Super 2000 Skoda Fabia through the final stage to take the win in Greece, 25 championship points, as well as 4 WRC points for finishing 8th overall.
Yeah, good weekend finally, very rough, very hard stages, but big thanks for the team. Car was working well during the whole weekend, and okay, not easy, but we are here and 25 points, it's more than welcome now.
So after 3 grueling days in the Greek mountains, Hanninen's final winning margin just shy of 5 minutes from Sosa, with Turan in third, taking his finest result to date. Herman Gassner Jr. came in fourth, with Prokop and Al-Attiyah closing out the top 6. As Juho celebrated with his team and sprayed the winner's champagne, let's take a look at how the results in Greece affect the championship standings. At the midway point, Juho led the championship 11 points ahead of Martin Prokop and 18 ahead of Bernardo Sosa. Despite his troubles in Greece, one of the standout drivers over the first half of the year had undoubtedly been Oyt Tanak.
I can't say nothing about him. He is very fast, and it's just in his blood, I think.
I think it's named for future, and you can see how stable he is because he makes incredible speed.
He's a good boy, you know, and really he show everybody he's really fast.
The car is not driving alone, so he has to do the job as well. So for sure, he's a very talented driver.
With one victory already to his name in 2011, we caught up with Tanak to find a little bit more about the otherwise quiet contender from Estonia.
What was it that made you, want to become a rally driver? Was there any family history in the sport?
Yeah, for sure. It was my father who's rallying already from '88, so it's quite a long tradition in our family. And when I was young, every day I saw how he was building his rally cars and things like this. So yeah, for sure, it's quite usual in our life there.
Oyt arrived in the World Championship in 2010, competing in the PWRC as a Pirelli star driver, so he understands the need for a solid grounding in the sport.
We got some very big experience from WRC last year, and we also got some some very good event wins and in Finland and Wales, so for sure it gave us a big boost for this year.
2010 brought about Oit's first victory in the PWRC, and it came on the most special event of them all, Finland. A big moment for him and a big moment in his career.
The Finland is very special for all Estonian drivers, I think, and Estonian fans as well, so it's a special place for sure, but this year it will be quite tough, I think.
Do you think you can do the double in the SWRC car?
I'll drive, for sure, I'll drive.
And he is certainly in good hands. His Super 2000 car is being looked after by Motorsport, the team run by former Ford star Marco Martin. And the ex-rallying hero has been giving Oit some helpful tips along the way.
Without him, it would be really, really tough to do it, but especially he gives really a lot of tips for me in driving, in setting the car, and everything. So it's very good that I have the guy like him.
You're in a Fiesta this year, and there's been talk of ties with M Sport, with Ford Motor Company. Will we see you in a Ford WRC car?
I don't know for sure. I hope so, but it still, I think, needs some more time to get into the WRC. So it's today for sure. It's too early, I think.
The PWRC had also reached the midpoint in their season, and a two-way battle had developed at the top. Patrick Flodden may have been the favourite for the title, but he had endured a wretched first half of the season, starting back at his home event in Sweden. The season opener saw 13 production cars take to these snow-covered stages for an incident-filled event. After hitting a snowbank on the opening day, Flodden was later excluded for having incorrect wheel rims on his car. Norwegian Anders Grondel, who had led on day one, was also forced to retire when his Subaru Impreza failed to restart after midday service on the second day. Grondel's demise meant a surprise podium finish for Peruvian Nicolas Fuchs on his first ever snow rally, while Czech driver Martin Semrad suddenly found himself in the lead. The 20-year-old was able to keep a cool head to bring his Mitsubishi Lancer home to take his first ever PWRC win.
Often the smile says it all. Oh yes, it's unbelievable. It's a great feeling, even though I know that maybe some guys would deserve it better, but this is rallying, and we finally have some good success. We really long time hope to.
The second round saw the PWRC move on to the warmth of the Algarve, and it was New Zealander Hayden Paddon who set the early pace. Having elected to miss the first round in Sweden, the Kiwi went on to win 5 of the opening day's 6 stages. And while the other drivers behind him suffered on the Portuguese gravel, Paddon was able to cruise home a comfortable 7.5 minutes ahead of Finn-Jukka Ketamaki and Martin Semrad, who backed up his win in Sweden with a hard-fought third place to maintain his lead at the top of the drivers' standings. But the winner's champagne belonged to Paddon, whose only slip of the weekend came on the podium. PWRC moved to South America for round 3, and once again it was Paddon who took maximum points after a safety-first approach. Day 1 had seen a 3-way battle for the lead, with Patrick Flodden, Mikael Kosciuszko and Paddon all trading top 3 times before both Kosciuszko and Flodden hit trouble on the famous El Condor stage, dropping them down the standings. Flodden was able to fight back and claim a remarkable second place, whilst Russian Dmitry Tagarov claimed his second ever PWRC podium, but it was 2 wins out of 2 for a delighted Hayden Paddon.
Get in there. Gotcha. Yes. Well done. Thank you very much. Bloody good. Good job.
Oh, it's absolutely amazing. Like we never come here to win, and to come away with maximum points is absolutely fantastic start to our championship. And like you say, from a performance point of view, it hasn't been the most satisfying, but it's been a good pace to win the rally. So this one's for the team. They've kept us going, and couldn't last anymore.
So after 3 events, it was a 2-way tie at the top of the drivers' standings between Hayden Paddon and Martin Semrad, with PWRC new boys Nicolas Fuchs and Dmitry Tagarov making up the top 4. Coming up in part 3, we turn our attention back to the Super 2000 category as the SWRC boys get their first taste of tarmac, and we hear from another driver who's made a big impact on the 2011 season. See you again after the break. Welcome back. The second half of the SWRC season kicked off with Rally Finland. In 2010, it was won by local man Juho Hänninen, and as championship leader, he was first into the stages in 2011. The Finn was immediately on the pace and pushed hard through the opening day. Sosa was lying third in the championship, but was struggling to get to grips with the finish stages. It was once again Ott Tänak who was proving the man to beat. The Estonian ace led by 7.7 seconds after the first stage and was as high as 7th overall after 3, ahead of a handful of WRC drivers. Evan Brynildsen was lying in 4th and hoping to improve on his disappointing results so far, but that massive crash for the Norwegian once again ended his hopes. Juho Hänninen was pushing hard to regain the lead from Tänak. 4 consecutive stage wins were enough to put him back in front and apply pressure onto Tänak. And the pressure began to tell. That spin from the Estonian would be a costly error. Tänak had blocked his exhaust, but it was a problem driver and co-driver didn't spot immediately, causing them to drop more than 3 minutes. They plummeted down to 5th, and another spin 2 stages later cost the Estonian pair even more time. Tänak's loss, though, was Martin Prokop's gain as he took 2nd position. Lying nearly a minute behind the leader Hänninen, there was little Prokop could do to mount a serious challenge, but 2nd position was looking safe. Over 2 minutes behind Prokop in 3rd was Red Bull Skoda driver Herman Gassner Jr. He was extremely happy with his position on a rally he'd never driven before and consistently setting top 5 stage times. Following his delay the previous day, Ott Tänak had started just 3 seconds behind Gassner Jr. and made short work of leapfrogging the German to take 3rd. He was still a long way adrift of Prokop, but was fastest on more than half of the day's stages. But it was fittingly Hänninen who took the SWRC crown at his home rally in Finland. No other SWRC driver has won here in the 2 years of the championship. There's no doubt this man is the favourite for the title now. Confirmation then of Hänninen's win on home soil. The final day, a cruise to victory to win by over 2.5 minutes. Prokop took 2nd, while Tänak managed to salvage a podium place. Back-to-back wins for Juho saw him pull out an 18-point lead over Prokop, with Ott Tänak in 3rd and Bernardo Sosa 4th.
Important points, very important points. So I'm very happy. We had a very good fight yesterday with Tänak, and I survived, and now winning over here, I'm very happy.
After winning his home event, Juho Hänninen was clearly in the mood for celebrating, but the 30-year-old took some time out to tell us a bit about his season so far and the road ahead.
It has been, as you said, very tight in all rallies, mainly with Tänak. He has done a great job on all these rallies. Okay, we are leading, but it's still, I think, all the rest of the rallies it will be tight with him. Now the Fords, all of them are strong. Prokop has done great times. Bernardo Sosa made a good times, and it's good. Even there's not so many cars altogether, but the competition in the top is very tight.
Hänninen has a wealth of experience, having driven in the PWRC as well. In 2008, he was leading the championship heading into the final round in Wales, only to eventually retire from the event. The experience has clearly left its mark.
It was a nightmare. We had a quite good season until that, and were able to win over here and 2 times on the other rallies. So, but okay, that is rally, and sometimes it can happen. But of course, it's more disappointing, more frustrating when you are so close. We had a so good good start for, or let's say start position for the Wales with the points. So big disappointment. Of course, I get like a more hungry, more big motivation from that I want to do it. I want to win it again, and not like a depressed from that. So just give more boost, more energy from that.
That energy clearly showed this season with a string of fastest stage times, a victory in Greece and Finland. He was also the 2010 Intercontinental Rally champion, but his goal has always been to swim with the big fish and one day compete for the WRC title.
Of course, it has been a dream for a long time, and we are on the way for that, and I just hope that in the future I will get the chance to try it and drive from the championship. It's important to do these rallies, WRC rallies, to get the experience from this. Okay, the car we have, it's good and great team, so that is the best way to get it. But just to see these stages, because year by year we are doing a lot of same stages, so it's important to be part of here on the drivers.
It had been a good first half of the season, but it would have to continue on tarmac.
These tarmac rallies are coming. 2 of those are new for me, so it will be tricky, but be in the podium, win some rally, and then finally take the title.
By the time the SWRC arrived in Germany, there had been 4 different winners, but with the remainder of the season run on tarmac, the drivers' form on the black stuff would be the deciding factor. Martin Prokop was first to show his hand, quickest on the opening stage in Germany. In stage 2, though, Martin got a brutal reminder just how easily these German roads can catch you out. Martin and co-driver Jan Tomanek off into the vines and out of the running. They were unharmed, but it was a massive dent to their championship aspirations.
I got a little bit too much right hairpin and I hit some wall or something and I completely lost the wheel. So car was impossible to control and we stopped somewhere here in 1 yard.
Prokop's demise promoted Juho Hänninen into the lead. As the afternoon progressed, though, he was coming under increasing pressure from Ott Tänak. That impact on the final stage of the day would seriously damage a wheel. The Finn managed to limp to the finish line, but with rules stipulating all 4 wheels must be attached to the car on road sections, Hänninen was out for the day.
Okay, I was a bit too fast over there and hit the concrete and lost the wheel, but stupid, of course. Always when you lose the wheel, it's a stupid mistake.
Hanninen's exit would also elevate his Skoda teammate Gassner Jr. up to a fine 2nd place on his home event. Herman made it through the corner that caught out Hänninen, only to make exactly the same mistake a corner later. With exactly the same result, 2 of the top 3 were out on the same stage. So day 2 started with Ott Tänak holding a comfortable lead over his rivals. Tänak's closest challenger was fellow Estonian Carl Kruder, but the 19-year-old suffered a puncture that saw him lose a minute and slip back to 3rd. He was later forced to pull up for good after going off the road and damaging a wheel. Despite suffering a myriad of technical problems over the course of day 2, Nasser Al-Attiyah was having one of his best ever runs on tarmac. The Qatari would hold on to finish in 2nd and earn his best finish of 2011. Championship leader Hänninen was again proving his tarmac pace in tricky conditions. 4th position would be a reasonable consolation considering his problematic weekend. After his day 1 trouble, Martin Prokop had been pushing hard, but this off summed up his rally. He finished in 6th. The runaway winner, though, was Ott Tänak. Despite his huge lead, the 23-year-old still managed a stage win on the final day. Ott and co-driver Calder Sick charged through the streets of Trier in the Circus Maximus Power Stage to finish the event. Win number 2 of the season for Ott, and his first ever on tarmac was in the bag.
Yeah, it's been really good weekend. No mistakes from our side and no mistakes on the car, so it was really nice. Our first event with Super 2000 and on tarmac, so for sure it's good to win.
In the end, Tänak's winning margin was an enormous 5.5 minutes over Al-Attiyah. Turan was an even more distant 3rd, with Hänninen recovering to 4th. France was the location for the penultimate round of the SWRC Championship. It had been an exciting season so far, with 3 drivers still very much in with a chance of the title. First into the stages was championship leader Juho Hänninen, the Finn eager to make amends for his mistake in Germany. He attacked the opening stage. Maybe he was pushing a little too hard. Worse was to follow as he picked up a puncture on stage 3, costing him 2 minutes and dropping down the standings to 4th. But in a fine sporting gesture, he pulled over to let his main championship rival Tanak pass him. Further back, there was more bad news for Qatari Nasser Al Attiyah. He missed his braking point in the dust and landed in a ditch. Unable to resurrect his car, the Middle East champion was forced to retire for the day. There was better news for 20-year-old Evan Benilton, who's endured a torrid season to date, but was in an impressive second position after day 1. Behind Brynildsen in third was Martin Prokop. The Czech is known as something of a tarmac expert, but struggled with his setup on the opening day, causing him to lose confidence in his car and time on the stages. However, enjoying himself out front was Tanak, winning 5 stages on the opening day to give himself a commanding lead. Day 2 began with Hänninen on a charge, winning the first 3 stages of the morning. The Finn first overtook Prokop on stage 10, and then Brynildsen on 11 to move up to second, and then this happened on stage 12.
Stupid mistake. I had a good chance to make it more easier for me to Spain, but now I destroyed those chances, and now I need to win in Spain.
And so day 3 began with Tanak knowing that victory was his as long as he avoided trouble. The Estonian wisely deciding to take a steady approach to the final day's stages. But with less than 9 seconds separating second and third, the rest of the podium was still to be decided. Brynildsen in second was now brimming with confidence, winning the opening 2 stages to secure himself the runners-up spot. Prokop would have to settle for third and 15 championship points. Out front, though, there was no stopping Oit Tanak. A flawless weekend from the Estonian and his 3rd win of the season to close the gap on championship leader Hänninen. In the end, Tanak won by a margin of over 2.5 minutes from Evan Brynildsen, who equals his best finish in the SWRC, while Hänninen finished 5th after restarting under Super Rally rules. In terms of the championship, that means Hanninen's lead over Tanak is cut to just 3 points, whilst Prokop's 3rd place means he still has a chance for the title. But the man with all the momentum going into the final round was Oit Tanak.
It will be a big battle in Spain, and for sure we will go there and to fight for everything, so it will be interesting. Yeah?
Join us after the break when we sit down with one of the drivers of the season.
We always come to this year wanting to win the championship, and I've always believed it's something we could have done this year.
And we have the exciting conclusion of the production and Super 2000 championships. Welcome back. The SWRC reached its climax at the Rally Catalunya after 7 rounds of enthralling action. The winner of the SWRC crown was still to be decided. Martin Prokop, Juho Hänninen and Oit Tanak were all still in with a chance of winning the title. A quick look at the standings shows Hänninen the leader by just 3 points over Oit Tanak, with Martin Prokop a further 14 points back, so it's winner takes all in Spain.
So I am on the worst position, I am third, but still there is chance to be champions, so we'll try to do it.
It will be head-to-head with Tanak, so it's no need to calculate any points or make any tactics. So now just who is faster will win the championship, so it's quite clear.
If I had €10 to bet on either yourself or Juho to win this weekend, who should I put my money on?
You think I should put it on Hänninen? No way.
So to the stages then, and with a slender 3-point lead over Tanak, Hänninen needed to be fast straight out of the blocks to win the coveted SWRC title. There was no room for a careful drive. But at the midway point of the opening stage, title rival Tanak was already ahead. Martin Prokop was next into the stage. The Czech driver's third place finish in France meant he was still in with a mathematical chance of winning the championship. But at 15 kilometres in, Prokop came across Oyt Tanak's co-driver out of the car and warning of a hazard. Around the corner, he found Tanak furiously getting to work on his stricken car, but it was the end of the road for the Estonian.
Already in the beginning of first stage, it looked to be quite difficult because there was a lot of dust and it wasn't very nice to drive, and then we hit the rock as well, so not a good start.
With the pressure now off Hänninen, the Finn's task was to stay ahead of Prokop and finish the remaining 300 kilometres unscathed. A poor start to the season had meant Nasser Al-Attiyah was out of the title fight, but he was the man to beat in Spain, quickest on 2 of the day's opening 6 stages. He led at the end of day 1. Day 2 saw more of the same from Al-Attiyah. The switch to tarmac seemingly not a problem as the Qatari won all of the morning stages to stretch his lead to 20 seconds. Martin Prokop was now running in third, the championship chasing Czech, aware that any slip up from Hänninen could gift him the title. But Juho had no intention of following his rival Tanak off the road. Instead, a measured approach saw the Finn close out the day in a comfortable second position. Nasser Al-Attiyah was pushing hard to maintain his lead. Driving on the ragged edge, his rally nearly over on stage 10 with this off. Although he managed to get his car back on the road, that error meant Hänninen closed to within a second of the leader going into the final day. And that lead didn't last long. On the first stage of the day, Al-Attiyah lost his brakes, forcing a careful drive on the high-speed tarmac stages. And thanks to Nasser's problems, Hänninen took the rally lead and was getting closer and closer to sealing his first SWRC title. Martin Prokop had driven steadily throughout the final day to secure a comfortable third position overall, but he knew the title was now beyond him. Going into the final stage then, it was Juho Hänninen who held a 9-second lead. The Finn had led the rally through every stage of the final day. This goes down as his third victory of the season, but that's not the real prize here. Juho Hänninen and Mikko Markkula are 2011 SWRC champions.
Big thanks for the Skoda and pumps like a Red Bull. I made it difficult in Germany and France, but luckily got it back here, so it's very nice, very nice.
Confirmation then of Hanninen's win in Spain. Nasser Al-Attiyah doesn't entirely escape his bad luck, but second is his best result of the year. And Juho Hänninen then, the SWRC champion in his first year of trying. Oyt Tanak will be disappointed with losing the championship, but his future in the sport The SWRC may have gone down to the wire, but the Production Car Championship proved to be a more straightforward affair. At the midway point in the season, Padden was tied on 50 points with Martin Semmerad at the top of the standings. Patrick Flodin and Michał Kosciuszko had struggled in the first half of 2011, but both were raring to go after the summer break. The second half of the season kicked off with Rally Finland, and it was an action-packed event from the start with guest driver Rico Tarko and Ukrainian Alexander Salok both crashing out in spectacular fashion. Championship leader Martin Semmerad also fell foul of the Finnish roads, this crash putting a serious dent in his title challenge. One man seemingly at ease on the fast-flowing Finnish stages was Hayden Padden. The Kiwi never looked in trouble on the challenging roads as he took his third consecutive win of the season. And that win in Finland meant that Padden had the chance of wrapping up the title in Australia. The New Zealander didn't disappoint. Despite some treacherous conditions, he won all of the stages on the opening day to establish a commanding lead. Mikhail Kosciuszko fought hard to close the gap, but second place was the best he could manage. It was Hayden Paddon then that brought his car home in first, victory in Australia, and with it, the 2011 PWRC title.
It's been absolutely perfect. This weekend's been tough. It hasn't been easy, but I can't believe it. Less than 12 months ago, we had nothing. We had no money, we had no campaign, and thanks to everyone back home in New Zealand, we've been able to get here and do something that people thought was impossible. So absolutely incredible. Can't believe it, and hopefully this is the start of more to come.
With the title secured, Paddon was now looking at a clean sweep in 2011, but it wasn't to be as his Subaru Impreza, so reliable through the rest of the season, failed to start on the opening morning of Rally Spain. Although he would Super Rally, his chances of victory were over. It was left to Patrick Flodin and Mikhail Kosciuszko to battle it out for the win. Despite Kosciuszko's best efforts, it was Flodin who would eventually come out on top, the first win of the season for the Swede. The PWRC season was rounded off in Wales, and it was back-to-back victories for Patrick Flodin. A flawless weekend saw the Swede cruise home a comfortable 5 minutes ahead of his nearest rival. Martin Semerad thought he'd claimed second, only to be excluded in post-event scrutineering, which gifted Mikhail Kosciuszko another second-place finish. But it was Patrick Flodin who got to enjoy the last champagne of the season as he finished his season on a high. Flodin's 2 victories at the end of the year were enough to give him the runners-up spot in the Drivers' Championship, and after his difficult start to the year, Kosciuszko can be happy with his 3rd place. But there was simply no catching Hayden Paddon this year. With 4 consecutive victories, he was rightly crowned 2011 PWRC champion. Despite his woes in Spain, it had been a remarkable season for Hayden Paddon, who was able to secure the PWRC title after winning his opening 4 rounds. And although clearly delighted with this year's achievements, the 24-year-old New Zealander is already looking ahead to the future.
It's been a great year for us. It was obviously pretty special to Australia, so close to home, and we certainly enjoyed it a little bit on Sunday night, but now it's just a matter of getting back in the car. That's what I want to do. I just want to drive.
Paddon had been competing in the New Zealand National Championship and in one-off PWRC events for several seasons, but it was last year that really saw him take a big step forward when he was awarded a place on the Pirelli Star Driver scheme.
We haven't come from a wealthy background or anything like that, so to have that scholarship to give us that leapfrog onto the world stage was massive, and without that we wouldn't have been back here this year. It gave us that platform to work from. This year's still been very hard financially, but we've made it happen and we've been able to get the results.
Hayden has always shown good speed when competing in Group N cars in championships in Asia and New Zealand, but the full season of competition with the Pirelli Star Driver scheme gave him the experience and understanding of how to win on the harder endurance events that make up the WRC calendar.
The big thing this year, I think, with the Group N cars is that it's, speed is obviously an important factor to it all, but also getting to the finish. Like Portugal, we went out and sort of put the pressure on the first stage by taking a big chunk of time out of the others and perhaps put the pressure on. And then when we used Argentina as an example, we always said that it was going to be a rough rally, and we just ran our own race, and the others broke down by pushing too hard, and we were there at the end to pick up the pieces. So we've really just, for every rally, made a plan of exactly what we were going to do, and so far all those plans have worked perfectly.
If one event typifies the need to find a balance between speed and endurance, it is Finland, and this year Hayden got that balance spot on.
In terms of one rally result, Finland probably sticks out of my mind. It was almost a straight race. Surely, all of us still had problems, but we're all there at the finish. So to do it on, what's known as a home rally was pretty special.
It was a special result in what proved to be a special season for Hayden, but the young man from New Zealand believes that this is just the beginning.
We always come to this year wanting to win the championship, and I've always believed it's something we could have done this year. If anything, these seasons probably gone better than what we originally expected, but our target and our goals are still the same. Next year we need to move out of Group N and step into something better to continue that growth, and certainly my end goal is still the same, which is try and go all the way to the top.
So 2011 was Hayden Paddon's year in the PWRC. Will it be the same story if he makes the move over to the Super 2000 category in 2012? One man who successfully made the switch from the PWRC was this year's SWRC champion Juho Hänninen. It was a fantastic season for the Finn. By wrapping up the title with victory in Spain, he showed that he can win on any surface, and with strong links to the newly formed Volkswagen WRC team, it can't be too long before he is competing at the sport's top level. Boyd Tanak has already had his first taste of WRC action. The promising youngster finished an impressive 6th on Wales Rally GB on his first outing in a full-spec WRC car. It was a special way to round off what had been a brilliant season for the young Estonian. Martin Prokop once again fell short in his bid for Super 2000 glory, but no one can deny that Czech has what it takes to cut it at the highest level in the sport. While we can also expect to see the likes of Evan Brynildsen, Nasser Al-Attiyah and Bernardo Sosa back to battle it out for SWRC honours again in 2012. But for now, we'll leave you with some of the best bits of 2011.